Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, trying something a little bit different with this video, but not too much. Instead of sitting in front of a camera and rambling on and on and on and on and on till the sun goes down, the moon comes up, then the moon goes down and the sun comes up, I decided to X the camera and just do audio only with one visual on screen at all time. It's kind of like in the same vein as Digibro's old ass anime cast. In fact, you could almost say it's a blatant ripoff, and if you do say so, I won't deny it because I was inspired to do this sort of video after seeing Digibro do his own. But he started his a couple months ago, and I just recently had the feeling of doing it as well because I actually wanted to revisit some of the anime that I've reviewed in the past and I enjoyed thoroughly, and I want to kind of dissect them a little bit more and talk about them again in full detail. I'm gonna call this series what's a good name? Fuck it, BCG Flashbacks. I'm not really creative when it comes to giving names to series I start, but for the inaugural episode of BCG Flashbacks, which is basically kind of like a podcast where I ramble on about something, I'm going to be talking about Is This a Zombie?, which I actually finished binge watching a couple minutes ago. I literally am making this recording after I finished watching all 13 episodes again. Or I think it was originally 12, and then there was a special episode for people who bought the DVD, but because I have Crunchyroll, and they're in association with Funimation, the special episode came with the rest of the series, so that was exciting. Now, for those who don't know about Is This a Zombie?, the series is basically about a guy named Aikawa Ayamu who seems like an average kid until he's walking home one day and he sees a stray black cat on the street. He decides to save it from being run over by a truck, and as he's saving the cat, he turns to the camera and says, "Oh, I'm a zombie." Gets hit by the truck, goes flying in the air, his clothes start flying off, and people are like completely shocked. And it was actually a great build-up. It was a great build-up to a punchline. You know how I feel about great, like, solid comedies that are well executed and have great build-up. That's how you do comedy. You know, it starts off really nice and calm and normal, then an outrageous thing happens, and then it hits you with the delivery, with the whole, "Oh, I'm a zombie." So we learned that this guy is a zombie, and he became a zombie because one night while he was walking home, he heard someone getting attacked in a house, tried to save them, but ended up getting killed himself. And then he was resurrected by a necromancer that he met prior to coming to this house by the name of Euclid, or they call her Yu for short. And now he lives in a house with Yu, and it's just basically their daily life until he bumps into a magical girl by the name of Haruna and ends up stealing her powers. So now she's staying at the house. And would you know, here comes a third girl now, a vampire knight, or not vampire knight, that's a shitty show, a vampire ninja by the name of Seraphine, who's there to recruit Euclid to come back with her to her village so that she could help her out with something. It's never really specified exactly what she needed help with, but she just needed Euclid to come with her, but she wouldn't because she promised to stay with Ayamu. And it's basically just the adventures of these four characters as they live together and deal with some really bizarre shit from time to time. Sometimes dramatic, sometimes hilarious. So what spurred me to watch this show again? Well, it's actually kind of interesting. A couple nights ago, I was in this weird mood of downloading old anime themes, opening and ending themes that I loved listening to. A couple years ago, I accidentally wiped out my computer's memory and I forgot to save all the music, so all of my anime songs were deleted and I didn't have them again. So for a couple of years, I didn't have these songs, and I just kind of had the itch to get them back, so I decided to download all the songs I remembered that I really enjoyed, some songs that I actually grew up with, and when I hear them, they just hit me with a rush of nostalgia. They give me this really sweet feeling inside. Like when I hear them, it's hard to describe the feeling because it's almost euphoric, like an aphrodisiac or like some type of feel-good pill. Again, it's really hard to describe, but it just makes me feel really good inside, and it makes me kind of feel like I'm young again. One of the songs that I heard is a song from the series Negima with an exclamation mark and a question mark. There's a song called Ohio from the OVA series. It was an OVA, I think it was the summer OVA. And that song, every time I hear it, I get goosebumps. And it just reminds me of the first time I saw it, which is when I was like a teenager. So I started downloading all these songs, and the songs that really stood out to me are the ones that are really cheery and poppy. And I remembered that Is This a Zombie? The first season, or no, both seasons actually, had really great ending themes. They were bubbly and catchy and poppy, and I downloaded them again. And after hearing the songs, I shit you not, I was saying to myself, man, I really want to see the series again. It's been so long since I've watched it, and I kind of miss Ayumu and Haruna, Euclid Wood, and Seraphine and their interactions. Let me just watch the series again. So I looked on Crunchyroll to see if it was there, and sure enough, the first season, right there in front of me. Now, I don't know how many of you saw my initial review. If you haven't, I'll put a link right up here. You'll see it pop up. No, let me not deny it. I loved Is This a Zombie? But I loved the second season more than I loved the first season. Or I felt like the first season was a bit too dramatic for what the series was. I mean, when you hear the concept of this show, when you hear its premise, it's about a guy that's a zombie that lives in a house with 3 girls and also happens to be a magical girl. I mean, it doesn't really spell high-octane drama, like really powerful, moving drama. That's not what you think. You think, oh, that sounds like a really good romantic comedy. And that's why I really loved the second one, which fully embraced the silliness of its concept and went full steam ahead. And it was just so perfectly done. But I cannot deny that the success and love for the second season could not have happened had it not been for how well executed the first season was. And after rewatching it again, I think I might love the first season more for what it has done compared to the second season, which I enjoyed for how it made me feel. See, the beauty of the first season of Is This a Zombie is that it was very plot driven with some great character moments and solid drama, which is so bizarre to say, especially for a series, again, about a guy that is a zombie and a magical girl at the same time. And the series goes out of its way to constantly remind you of this. The main character usually will start off an episode saying, "Hi, I'm Aikawa Ayumu, and I'm a zombie. Oh, and I'm also a magical girl," or magical garment girl, which I don't know why they just don't call him a magical girl. What's the difference between a magical girl and a magical garment girl? Aren't they the same thing? Or do they get their powers from the... Well, I mean, magical girls get their powers when they transform too, so a little tirade there. It doesn't really matter. But rewatching it again, I realized just how great this show is in handling its drama. Like, I literally thought that the drama would feel forced and out of place in a series like this, but no, it comes naturally. And the reason for that is the show does a great job at building up these characters, giving them motivation, giving them personality, so that when the drama actually happens, you feel the weight of it because you care about the characters. See, in most series that deal with melodrama, like for example, I recently watched Fuka. And the problem with the drama in Fuka is that, one, they don't set up the characters that well. The main character is completely pathetic. And you just don't feel a connection between the characters. And the drama feels very forced and tacked on and overbearing. Whereas here in Is This a Zombie, the main character is fascinating. He's a zombie and a magical girl. He has humor to him. He has charm. He deeply cares for every one of the girls. And he's somebody that goes out of his way to do the right thing. He's not passive. He's an active character in the series. A problem that I see in a lot of romantic comedy anime currently is that the main character is way too passive. He's just nice. And I'm sorry, but being nice can only get you halfway through the series until it becomes really daunting and boring. You need something to really stand out, to help your character be something more than just the nice guy. And Ayamu does exactly that. Not only is he a nice guy, but he's funny. He can be perverted from time to time. He is really strong. And he's not afraid to face challenges head first. I mean, he can be stupid now and again when it comes to facing challenges, but he's always willing to face these challenges. He is an interesting, fascinating, and most importantly, an engaging lead. That's what makes him so great. And his relationships with all three of the girls and also all of the side girls are explored and developed, especially with Euclid. Watching the first season again, I was so surprised at how heartwarming the scenes between Ayamu and Euclid were. It was very touching and dynamic, and I bought their relationship. I bought that they were close. And I bought the whole drama near the end when she leaves. It makes a lot of sense because the series built it up. It wasn't like out of nowhere she decides to leave. She always felt like she was a burden on Ayamu, a burden on the whole group. She's scared that she just brings trouble and mayhem no matter where she goes. So when she leaves, it makes sense. And the drama that comes with it makes sense. You buy it. And there's weight to it. But going back to the relationships between the girls and Ayamu, again, they're believable. And each of them have a different type of relationship with Ayamu. And most importantly, they build up why these girls like him. They build up why these girls are attracted to him, why they stick around, why they stand by his side. Recently, I watched two anime. One was Kanokon, and the other one was Nakaimo. And the one thing that these two anime shared in common was the fact that the girls, I guess not just the two, but there was two girls in particular that are just super infatuated with the lead. Let's just say the two girls. So the two main girls of both series are infatuated with the lead right off the bat. I'm not even kidding. Like, the moment we're introduced to these characters, they love the main character. For no other reason than he's the main character. He did nothing to earn their respect, did nothing to earn their admiration or earn their adoration. It's just like, no, we need the main character to have these cute chicks so that we can have this forced love triangle rom-com situation. The beauty of Is This a Zombie is that the girls do not fall for him immediately. Even Euclid, who's been with them the whole time, isn't just super duper infatuated with him. They spend time with Ayamu to where they actually form a bond. Haruna is a conventional tsundere, and she acts like it. But her relationship and her bond with Ayamu is so fleshed out that by the end of the series, I buy the romance between them. I buy her feelings for him. Now with Seraphine, she doesn't really have feelings for him, but the beauty of her character and her relationship with Ayamu is that she earns respect for him. She believes in him now because he brought out something in her that she never thought existed. The will to be her own individual and not be part of the groupthink. And for that, he earned her respect. That was the character arc between these two characters. And it was very well handled. I'm surprised at how well the balance of comedy and drama was handled in the first season. I don't think I mentioned it in my review for it about how the balance was really good. And the thing is, both never really overstayed their welcome. They were very well paced out. The first few episodes, granted, were more geared towards the comedy than the drama. But when the drama seeped in, the drama was there. And it was handled with as much seriousness as it needed to be. And again, it never overstayed its welcome. And it never got stifled or completely thrown away for a comedic gag. One thing I always hate when I see anime that do the whole like switching tones is that it will start off, let's say it starts off comedic, right? And then all of a sudden, out of the like a drop of a dime, it becomes really dreary and sad. And then at a drop of another dime, it switches tones and becomes cheerful and happy again. In this series, it's not like that. There's a progression from the comedy to the seriousness. Like, it will start off comedic sometimes. Like, for example, in the first episode, where Ayamu is sitting in the graveyard just trying to relax, and then he gets attacked by a bear, or he gets attacked by a megalo is what it's called. And in comes this magical garment girl attacking, and she does an attack that's called a kick, but it's not really a kick. It's a running gag in the series that I always found funny. But it was like that whole scene was always comedic. Never once does it go switch like, oh my god, it's serious. I guess a better example is the school scene where this weird guy comes into the classroom and tells Ayamu, I want you. And then he turns into a freaking crayfish. And, you know, the scene is at first really comedic, but then you feel how the tension is rising and rising and rising to the point where it's no longer funny. You're like, oh man, no, this guy means business. He might want to attack. I mean, it's silly, you know, this guy turns into a crayfish and then Ayamu turns into a magical girl. Yeah, it's silly, but there's some weight to the situation and you kind of feel the drama and tension in the scene. I'm trying to think of another good example of this. In later episodes, I think from episodes 7 to 11, they're more serious in tone. In fact, the series reaches its climax before the last episode. The climax happens in the 11th episode instead of the last, which I'm glad because it gave us time to actually explore some of the more comedic aspects in the final 2 episodes. But in those episodes, there's very little comedy in those episodes. But when there was comedy, it never felt out of place because it was very much in line with the nature of the characters doing the bit. So in episode 10, after Ayamu sacrificed himself by blowing himself up, because they had a bomb strapped to him. Was that episode 10 or 11? I just saw this and I don't even remember which episode it was. Wait, let me look real quick. Oh, it was episode 10, yeah, when he blew himself up. And then the next episode, episode 11, where they find all of the pieces of his body and they put it back together. There's this whole comedic exchange where Seraphine is like saying, oh yeah, he still looks as repugnant as I remembered him. But here, this should probably heal him. And she gives him like this little pellet that she says is like some type of thing that can wake him up. But instead, it's a pellet for poison. And I'm like, that makes sense because that's the nature of her character. Her character would act like that and call him smut and maggot and all that stuff. That makes sense. It's in line with the character's personality. Or when Haruna would act all tsundere-like and, you know, be very dismissive and all that stuff, but be eccentric and over the top, especially in dramatic scenes, you would think that'd be distracting, but it's in line with the character. She tries to diffuse the situation, the drama, by being overly eccentric and silly and loud. That's the way that she copes with the drama, or how she tries to fizzle out the drama. It never feels unwelcome. It never feels overbearing. I guess what I'm trying to say to wrap it all, or to bring it all together, as you can tell, I'm just doing this on the fly, but to sum it up, the balance between the comedy and the drama in the first season was very well handled, and I'm so surprised that as ridiculous as this anime can get, the drama felt real. It never overstayed its welcome. I never felt like it got too overly dramatic. And there were consequences. The drama had consequences, and it led to growth between characters. It's not melodrama for the sake of melodrama. Even the villain himself, as much as he seemed overpowered, he had purpose. He had motivation. I won't give away what exactly it is, but it was very well handled. And the payoff is deserved at the end. And it's not like it just ends to where the main character gets the drop on him. It's more or less a mutual agreement between both parties that yes, this needs to happen. And I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty interesting. So yeah, I'm quite astonished. It's one of the few anime that I've seen where the concept is so ridiculous, yet the drama is impactful, and I buy it. The only other one I could think off the top of my head at the moment is Jubei-chan that I reviewed this year, which does the same thing. It has a ridiculous concept, but the drama in the series is so well handled. And again, it's because it stays true to the characters. The characters are the same in the comedic scenes as they are in the drama scenes. That's what most series should understand, that when they're gonna do a switch between comedy and drama, if they want to have a good balance, characters must stay consistent. As I mentioned earlier about how Seraphine was consistent in the drama and comedy scenes, no matter what happened, she was always consistent. Even if the situation was dramatic, she would still call Ayamu maggot or say that he's repugnant. The same thing goes for Haruna. In dramatic scenes, she would still act like a tsundere. She would still act super eccentric and over the top. It's not like all of a sudden she's all weepy-eyed. Even in the most dramatic scene, the most dramatic exchange between her and Ayamu, she still was acting like herself in the tsundere. Sure, she had her emotional moments, but it never overpowered or overshadowed the true nature of the character. And that goes to show you that the writer of this series, his name is Makoto Uezu. I don't know if I said that right. But the writer of the series has a clear understanding of these characters and knows how to write them in specific scenarios and make sure that he stays true to them. That's what series need to understand. That's what Good Luck Girl never truly understood. The fact that the main character would switch constantly between being overly comical then overly dramatic. And she couldn't pick a tone. And she was never consistent with her tone. Again, that's more of a ramble for another day. But yeah, it's just fantastic how they handled that. What else about the show that... Oh, one thing too that I found so fascinating is how this show bucked a lot of trends in romantic comedy harems. For one, the way that the harem forms is kind of different than most harem anime. I mean, it happens more progressively, and it's not indicative of the main character himself. It's actually, he's more of a happenstance of it. He's more of, I wouldn't say a coincidence. I can't think of the word right now. I'm sure I'm going to think about it like a couple days later. Like, that's the word I wanted to use. But he just happened to be in the area. The main reason that most of these girls came, well, Haruna ended up in the harem because she accidentally bumped into Ayamu and tried to wipe his memory out, but instead, her powers got taken away. The reason Seraphine shows up isn't for Ayamu. She shows up for Euclidwood, and she ends up staying there because she wants to be closer to Euclidwood, not because she wants to be with Ayamu. So the way that this harem forms comes off more of a build-up instead of like, let's tack on these romantic interests. You know, there's reasons for them to be there. I also found it interesting how usually in an anime like this, a rom-com harem, especially if it's about a bunch of girls that come out of nowhere and end up in the life of the main male character, they would end up attending the school that the main character attends. And I can't believe I didn't realize this before. I guess because back then I didn't really notice these types of tropes that kept showing up in anime. But never once do any of the three girls end up attending the school. Euclid, Haruno, Seraphine, none of them attend the school. And I was actually quite surprised by this. Because again, if this was a conventional romantic comedy harem, they would have been attending the school just so that they could be closer to Ayamu. But that's not, again, it goes back to the nature of the harem. The harem didn't happen because everybody just wanted Ayamu's dick. It happened through a progression of circumstances that later led to them all coming together and then forming a harem. And I love that. I love the fact that these girls did not end up attending the school. That's actually quite refreshing. I like seeing that. It's fantastic. And it actually made for more moments for them to spend time with each other at home and seeing the exchanges there without having to rely on them making exchanges at the school. Maybe explore more of their home life. And that's what the show does. It does a great job at showing their home life and the relationship that's building among them as they spend more time with each other. I really love how they develop the relationships here. It's very well handled. And even another good thing about the show too is the drama surrounding Euclid. For a character that doesn't speak that much, the character has so much depth. You feel the pain that this character goes through on a daily basis. And you understand her to the bone, even though, again, she doesn't say a word. Everything is done through the way that the character presents herself and how she carries herself in certain situations and her actions throughout the series. One of the most pivotal moments that I wish I noticed when I initially watched it was a scene where all four of them are sitting around the table and Haruna is acting like typical tsundere and she's telling Ayamu to die. And Euclid kind of takes offense to this, being a character that can't speak that much and understands that the weight of your words have implications. They have consequences. You know, that's why you shouldn't use words lightly. She writes on a letter, don't use that word lightly, you know. Dying is painful because she experiences death whenever she would kill somebody or use the word die. She feels that. But Haruna is not listening. She's still acting like a tsundere, saying Baka, die, 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 die. And finally, Euclid snaps and just like slaps her because she doesn't understand what she's doing. She's like, dying is painful. You should never wish death upon anybody. And this has implications to the character later on in the series because she is forced to make a decision to kill somebody, but she doesn't want to do that. And I can't believe I missed this whole thing when I initially saw it. That just made the character, Euclid, far more dynamic than I gave her credit for. Sure, she had some great scenes with Ayamu, but as a standalone character, as her own individual character, she had weight. She was fascinating and well developed. And that's all accredited to how greatly written this show is. It's a really well-written rom-com harem. Now, I know many of you are probably wondering why I'm not talking about the fan service in the show. Well, I'm going to talk about the fan service in the show now. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought that the fan service was handled very sparingly and it never got too annoying to the point where I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because it doesn't resort to those conventional cliches in harem anime where, let's say, especially if it's action-centric, there's never a point in the show where, let's say, Haruna and... excuse me. Clear my throat. Well, let's say all the three girls are fighting a megalo, right? There never comes a point. In fact, there's a scene in, I believe, episode 5 or 6 where they're fighting this giant whale megalo. And they do get hit. You know, they get attacked. But not once do they ever get attacked and like a piece of their clothes get ripped off or something. Never once do their clothes come flying off. Yeah, you'll get a couple panty shots of their breasts. Yeah, that's fine. But one thing I always found annoying was ones that were extremely forced. Like, a gust of wind could blow by and their clothes would just fly off in that sense, you know. Or like the high school DxD method of whenever they would get hit or something, the clothes just start ripping off. Or like a Valkyrie drive when they would get into fights and their clothes would just shred away inch by inch every time they get punched or they get they get a hit. Their clothes just get obliterated. That doesn't happen in this show. The closest thing to that is the fact that whenever Harina initially, when she tries to activate her magical garment girl powers, she gets the clothes, but then it ends up disappearing. But that's not really something that's forced, and they don't rely on it often. I think they do it 3 times in the show. 3 times in a 12-episode anime. That's some restraint. And again, it makes sense why that happens, because the powers that she gets is from her magical garments. And Ayamu has that power now. So of course when she tries to activate it, it's not going to work, and then her clothes are going to disappear. So there's implications to that. The action too was very entertaining. I won't say that the action is amazing, but it is definitely entertaining. I don't think I gave that enough credit back in the day too, how entertaining the action scenes were. Sometimes they got pretty intense. And, you know, you would make the complaint that the main character is like OP, way too powerful, and he's a zombie, he can't die. But even though he can't die and he is a zombie, when he gets into a fight, sometimes he doesn't win these fights. He's outbeat, he's outmatched. It's all about how you execute the action. There has to be some sort of tension between the characters to where the action doesn't feel like, oh, well, who cares, you know, the main character's a zombie. He'll survive. And it's kind of funny. The main character even points out the fact that, hey, don't worry about me. I'm a zombie. I can take it. But even though that happens, you still feel bad. Like the scene where he had the bomb on his head, he's like, don't worry, I'm a zombie. I actually I felt pain in my chest when I saw him jump in the air and sacrifice himself. Yeah, I know he's going to come back and all, but it was noble, it was touching, and I guess it's because I truly cared about the character. I gave a damn about his well-being. So that when he did sacrifice himself, I felt something. The side characters, too, were quite entertaining. In fact, this show has probably one of the best supporting sidekicks I've seen in an anime since The Devil is a Part-Timer. Orito is such a great comedic side character. He's so fucking funny and entertaining every time he shows up. And yes, he is kind of the... He is the cliche of the annoying, perverted sidekick. Because all he ever thinks about is dating girls or seeing girls in their panties and all that stuff. He's that number 9 most annoying cliche that I've mentioned in that top 10 video I did. But the thing is, the character has so much charm, and the delivery of the actor was fantastic. It was hilarious. And I just discovered that for the Funimation dub, the person that voices Orito is the same guy that voices Alciel in The Devil is a Part-Timer, Anthony Bowling. And I'm kind of curious to hear the English dub just for his performance and to see how it compares to Alciel. And speaking of the performances too, the Japanese voice actors and actresses were fantastic. They handled the drama scenes very well. Their comedic deliveries were on point. Fantastic voice acting. And then there's the music. Now, personally, I never really liked the opening theme that much. It's okay. It's not bad. It's just it feels too epic for me. It feels like something that should have been in a more action-packed anime than this mostly romantic comedy harem. Sure, there's action and, you know, sure, the visuals look nice, but it's not as action-packed. I feel like this song deserved to be in a more action-centric show. Whereas the ending themes felt more fitting for this series because they were bubbly and lighthearted and comical and poppy. I love those songs. I'm not even kidding. They're addictingly good. And the little visuals at the end that accompany the music fit it perfectly, and I loved seeing it too. I still have some gripes with the show. Not as many as I used to, but still have some gripes. Like, one of the main gripes that still carries on even to this day is the way that they treat a character named Taiko. Is it Taiko or Teiko? It might be Tay, because it's K-ko. Yeah. Taeko. Did I pronounce it right? Teiko? Either way, wherever her name is pronounced, this character apparently had a relationship with Ayamu. Like, they were kind of not childhood friends, but they knew each other since they were kids. And apparently, the way that she fashions her hairstyle is all due to Ayamu, who mentioned that he liked double pigtails. That's something I did not catch when I first saw this series. And honestly, it's not even mentioned in the show itself. This is something I learned when I was reading the Wikipedia page, that she fashioned her hairstyle that way to get Ayamu's attention because he said he liked double pigtails. And I'm like, why didn't the show explore that? Why didn't the show give this character some time to shine? In the first season, she only makes roughly 3 notable appearances, 2 of which were very comedic episodes. And I think it would have been nice if they spent some time together in school. I mean, I guess because most of the series does take place at Ayamu's house instead of at the school, we aren't given enough time or given any time to see his school life with other characters. It's always outside of the school, which is refreshing. I'll give it that. It's refreshing to see an anime that features features a high school student as the main character, yet it doesn't particularly take place that much in high school. It's not even shown as much. They do go back now and again, but it doesn't play a key part of the series. Fascinating. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because that means we don't get time with Teiko. And I thought this character had the potential to be an interesting member of this harem. I would have loved to see more of her. I guess another character I didn't get to talk about is Maelstrom, who I also really liked. And it's so funny, the whole thing about, like, in Vampire Society or Vampire Ninja Society, if you get a kiss from somebody, that's basically like a marriage ceremony. So then they become husband and wife, Ayamu and Maelstrom. And one thing I didn't mention in my initial review too is the fact that she didn't like Ayamu after the kiss. She was conflicted by her feelings because she's very loyal to the vampire code. She follows the law verbatim, so she believes in it. But at the same time, she doesn't really know what love feels like. She's still confused by it. She's trying to understand. And maybe she can learn to love Ayamu as time goes on, which she does. Because getting to spend some time with Ayamu, seeing how caring and passionate he can be, proved to her that he is a man deserving of her love and affections. Thus, she gives it to him. And it's just so cute. When she might be the cutest character in the show, in my opinion. The way that she would give these glances towards Ayamu, and when she would blush and act all tsundere-like. I will also say that her little rivalry with Haruna is so hilarious. It's hilariously cute. Because both of them are technically tsunderes. Haruna definitely more so than Maelstrom, but she does have her tsundere tendencies. The thing about Maelstrom is that she bounces back and forth. Sometimes she's very tsundere-like, and sometimes she's very dandere-like, and she'll fluctuate between the two. But initially, she did act much like a tsundere, and it would have been interesting if they just stuck with that tsundere behavior and seeing a clash between her and Haruna. In fact, it would have been great to see an episode where, let's say, Maelstrom invites Ayamu out to a date, and Haruna constantly gets in the way of it because she's so jealous. She's like, oh, she's gonna replace me because she's a tsundere just like me. So yeah, I liked her character. But I was talking about problems that I have with the show. What are the issues that I see with it? You know, as I think of it now, not much. Like, I'm surprised. I thought I would find more problems upon my second viewing, but no. I felt like there was a fine-tuned story with compelling, likable, well-fleshed-out characters, solid animation, entertaining action, solid directing. It is honestly one of the best harem anime I've ever seen. And I think it's more than deserving than just a worth watching. I think it is definitely one hell of an anime people should go check out. A good example of how to do solid rom-com ecchi harem that doesn't feel overbearing, doesn't feel out of place, it doesn't feel forced. It does new things. It's creative. It bucks trends now and again. I mean, again, the fact that the three girls do never end up at the school it's refreshing. And I guess that's a good way of describing Is This a Zombie? It's refreshing. In a day and age where a lot of these romantic comedy anime that focus on harem and ecchi, and most of them are not that good, with really boring main characters, the love isn't there, you don't feel a spark. It's so refreshing to see an anime like Is This a Zombie, which fixes many of the problems that I see in modern rom-com anime. And I'm so glad that I decided to binge watch it again, because I have a much deeper appreciation for this series now than I did 4 years ago. And that's really all I have to say. I don't know if there's anything else I want to add on the whole Is This a Zombie. I do really want to see the second season again, because I don't hate the second season. I just have a deeper appreciation for the first one, because I personally still like the second season more than the first season, because the second season to me has more rewatchability. The gags and jokes and the interactions among the characters are far more entertaining in the second season. Although I guess the biggest problem with the second season is that it does kind of push away some of the great dramatic elements of the anime and doesn't have much of a solid through storyline. It's basically episodic moments. Yeah, there is this whole thing dealing with one of the Mahou Shoujo girls shows up and kind of attacks the main characters, although the series does end on a very underwhelming note. So yeah, the second season isn't without its flaws, but I still enjoyed it far more than the first season because of the way that it made me feel. I kind of radiate towards comedy more than I do drama, but I do have an appreciation for well done drama, which Is This a Zombie, for as ludicrous of a concept it is, does very well. And I, again, would highly recommend it. So yeah, that ends this first session of the BCG Flashback, or just BCG Flashback. Let me know in the comments if you guys would like to see more of this style of video. I definitely would love to do this again, where I just kind of spew out verbal diarrhea in a sense and just talk about old shows that I really enjoyed. In fact, whenever I watch an old show or I am in the mood to see an old show that I really enjoyed, I'll do this thing again. Or if I feel like I can make a whole tirade on a certain topic and stuff like that, I definitely will. Because this was fun. I enjoyed this. You know, it's good to just shoot the shit and not have to worry about editing. Just, you know, express thoughts. Though it would be more helpful if there was more of a visual aid to this. So, but yeah, thank you all for listening. If you have been listening this long, hopefully maybe what I said in my video can convince you to check out Is This a Zombie? Go support it. I definitely recommend it. And again, let me know if you would like to see more of this style of video in the future. Until then, guys, if you'd like to see more videos of this channel, be a part of the Black Critic crew. As always, hit that subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. And I'm Tony Wild II, the Black Critic Guy. And until then, I'll see you later. Peace, YouTube.